Have you ever faced odds so impossible there was just no way out, only to have that "but God" moment of deliverance? Many people go through life alone, without favor, without knowing the greatest source available to help them through their darkest hours. If you can relate, let's go on a journey filled with danger, mercy, and miracles. To learn from a man chosen for a destiny he never could have imagined. Because you, too, have a destiny to fulfill. It's the story of Moses, and it begins in ancient Egypt, a time when the Hebrew people were enslaved. The Pharaoh, fearing their growing numbers, gave a terrible order. Every newborn Hebrew boy was to be thrown into the Nile River. But one mother, desperate to save her son, placed him in a waterproof basket and set him afloat among the reeds. But God saw her plight and stepped in to help her. Wherever you are, whatever you're going through, God sees you. You are not alone. Who found this baby? None other than Pharaoh's own daughter. She named him Moses, which means to draw out, because she drew him out of the water. Moses grew up as a prince of Egypt, living a life of luxury, completely unaware of his true heritage. But one day, he witnessed an Egyptian guard brutally beating a Hebrew slave. In a moment of rage, Moses intervened and ended up killing the guard. Terrified of the consequences, he fled Egypt and journeyed into the wilderness of Midian. There, he became a shepherd, married a woman named Zipporah, and started a new, quiet life. It seemed like his past was far behind him, but this life was not his destiny. God had greater things planned for Moses. One day, about 40 years later, while tending his flock on Mount Horeb, Moses saw something extraordinary. A bush that was on fire but wasn't burning up. As he approached, a voice called out from the flames. It was the voice of God, who had a monumental task for him. God told Moses to return to Egypt and lead the Hebrew people out of slavery to a promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Moses was full of doubt. He felt he wasn't the right person for the job. He had a speech impediment and was a fugitive. "Who am I to do this?" he asked. But God assured him, "I will be with you." God gave him a staff that could turn into a snake and other signs to prove his divine authority. He also appointed Moses' brother, Aaron, to be his spokesman. So, with newfound courage, Moses returned to Egypt to confront the most powerful man in the world. Moses and Aaron went before the Pharaoh and delivered God's message, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hard. He refused, again and again. The route to your destiny is filled with obstacles, but don't lose hope. Jesus promised that those who persist will be saved. In response, God sent a series of 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt. The Nile turned to blood, frogs and gnats swarmed the land, livestock perished, and boils afflicted the people. Still, Pharaoh would not yield. The final, most terrible plague was the death of every firstborn son in Egypt. Only the Hebrews, who had marked their doors with lamb's blood as God instructed, were spared. This event is still commemorated today as Passover. After this final tragedy, a heartbroken Pharaoh finally told the Hebrews to leave. And so, Moses led hundreds of thousands of his people out of Egypt, beginning their long journey to freedom. But Pharaoh quickly changed his mind and sent his army, with its mighty chariots, chasing after them. The Hebrews found themselves trapped between the charging army and the vast Red Sea. All hope seemed lost. But Moses, guided by God, raised his staff. In one of the most famous miracles of all time, the waters of the Red Sea parted, creating a dry path for the people to cross. They walked through on dry ground, with walls of water on either side. Look around you, for God has given you a staff, talents to be developed, opportunities to tap into His very Spirit dwelling inside you. Know that the way across is already scripted upon your life. Once they were safely across, the Egyptian army charged into the seabed in pursuit. Moses raised his staff again, and the waters crashed back down, swallowing the entire army. The Hebrews were truly free. But their journey was far from over. They spent the next 40 years wandering in the desert, a time of testing and learning. On Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, his standard for their life, a moral and ethical code for the people to live by. Moses guided them as God fed them with manna from heaven and led them through countless challenges. Although Moses himself never set foot in the Promised Land, he led his people to its very edge, entrusting his successor, Joshua, to complete the journey. Moses' story is an incredible testament to the power of God to deliver against impossible odds. Almighty God is our greatest source of help, even in our darkest hours. The life of Moses teaches us that faith in God and our own faithfulness unlocks our destiny. This epic event has inspired millions for thousands of years. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey through the Bible. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.